Welcome back, my friends. A build show live on a really nerdy topic. We got a fun one for you today. We're talking about exterior doors today, and we're going to get into all the parts and pieces that make for a really durable door, a door that's going to seal really tightly against both air and water, and a door that's going to be lasting and durable and really satisfying to use. I got a really good show for you today. This one's sponsored by Endura. And before I cut, the last thing I want to mention is I often do build shows about super expensive products that are super cool. But today's build show is a little bit of the opposite. Some of the parts we're talking about today are like $10 or $20. Today's build show is sponsored by Endura. Let's get going. All right, guys, coming to you from my house. We're actually in my garage under construction. You can see I got some cool stuff in this garage. Stay tuned for a future build show about my maple plywood walls and my hemlock ceiling. But we're talking today about exterior doors, and I've got with me an expert. Travis, good to see you again, man. See Travis Price with Endura. We've been friends for, gosh, at least 15 years now, Travis. I see you at every IBS show. What are we talking about specifically today, Travis?
Yeah, so we're in your garage here, and we're lucky to work with you on your 2 exterior doors in here. So on your house to garage door, we have panel lock,
That's this door right here.
multi-point lock, yep, and we also have fusion frame. And on the outside door, to your side yard, we have RDS and we have fusion frame. So we got a lot, and ZAC on both doors. That's in our articulating cap. Lots of cool things to show you as we go through there, so I'm excited to do it.
So we gave you some nerdy names on there with RDS and Z. We're going to explain those, but before I do that, I had a chance to go out to North Carolina to the factory to visit with these guys. And one of my favorite things about Endura is that they are a family-owned company. And in fact, we're going to get to see Bruce Proctor, who is the grandson of the founder. This is a really cool company. And Bruce is going to walk us through some of the products, and then we're going to cut back. So let's head over to North Carolina for my trip and my interview with Bruce. All right, guys, coming to you from Greensboro, North Carolina, the headquarters of Endura, and I have with me the president of Endura, Bruce Proctor. Bruce, you and I go way back, my friend. I've known you for at least 15 years now.
Yeah, that's true. I think we first encountered each other when you had put out a video on Frame Saver, which we had just acquired the company at the end of 2005. So it was great to meet you as a user and somebody who liked a product that we thought highly of, and we'd made that acquisition.
That is a great product.
Started getting to know you then.
Now, Bruce, tell me the history though. Not everybody knows Endura. How long have you guys been in business? What's the story behind Endura?
So Endura is my family's business. It was started back in 1954 by my grandfather.
Wow.
As a distribution company, distributing products such as metal moldings, sliding door hardware, carpet bars, etc. And then my father joined the company a couple years later, and in the 1970s, when the industry began utilizing pre-hung entry door units as opposed to site-built door units, that's when we started getting into things such as thresholds, entry door sills that were made for pre-hung door units, and it's grown since then. I joined the company in 1992 after a career in finance, and we got into the exterior door frame business, grew that, made a number of acquisitions over the years, and here we are.
That's
today.
So cool, Bruce. 70 years later, still family owned. I love it. Now, not everybody knows Endura, though, because you guys make kind of all the parts and pieces for, let's say, this door assembly, with the exception of the door. You know, the door manufacturer probably gets top billing, but it's your parts and pieces that really make a durable, excellent door in the end. Will you walk us through some of those products?
Yeah, I will. I want to just kind of start off by, it's almost a history of our taglines. One that sticks with me when you ask that question is one we had, which is Endura, it's how doors work. And so I like to think of it as anybody can put together a door, but putting together a door that actually performs to make sure that the air and water don't infiltrate, that stand up to the rigors of the construction site, process of installation. That's something different right there. And it all starts because we're really curious, okay? I am known probably by my development team as somebody who just walks in their office and says, why can't we do this? Or why can't this be done this way? And so, so that's how a lot of our products come up, because we're always asking the question of how can it work better? Why are people complaining about why their door isn't working well? And that leads us to explore what we're doing there.
I love it.
So you know, you asked about about the products, and one of the products on this door unit right here, I always like to talk about this one, is this this entry door sill right here. So over the years, entry door sills evolved to be adjustable so that any inconsistencies between the sill and the door bottom could be taken up. But you always had to utilize a screw, and there weren't a whole lot of builders or homeowners out there utilizing screwdrivers to make that adjustment after the installation.
And by not a lot, that means none.
Yes, exactly.
And I remember I started the business, there was usually an oak cap, and those screw heads were all exposed. And you guys, 20 years ago, one of my first Endura products I used was a cap that you had that covered the screws.
Yeah.
So that you could not see all those ugly screws on the top.
I said in a staff meeting, I said, well, why don't we make a spring-loaded door sill so people don't have to mess with those screws? And like a dog with a bone, you know, we came out with this product in 2013, 2014, but driven by the fact that we always kept asking ourselves, how can we do it better? What can overcome those issues out there? And so, so 8 years now after we introduced the products, we're seeing a real surge in people kind of getting it. So in this industry, change is
slow.
Yes, glacial sometimes, but eventually people start seeing the benefits of some of these products.
And that's your Z articulating cap, right?
Yes,
so this
yes.
cap right here on this door actually is spring-loaded and articulates, which means when that door bottom sweeps over top of this, it's kind of pushing against the door bottom and making a really good seal there, right?
Yes, exactly. As that comes across there, so the door could be misaligned totally such that one end of the door is higher than the other, but because this cap automatically compensates for those variances, it can be compressed here but yet be up over there.
Yep. One of the things I like about Endura is that most of these parts and pieces that we're going to talk about today, both on the webinar and this visit, is that none of these parts are super expensive. Like that cap is probably a $10 or maybe $20 addition to a standard door, right?
Something like that,
and
yeah.
a sill that you might get at the home center, which is non-replaceable, non-adjustable, not very well made, or just a standard wood jam going to frame saver. None of these parts are adding a lot of money in the scheme of things to the door, but they really solve some problems for me as a builder.
Right, so I always like to say, you know, if you took all of our products around that door and you added it in there, you know, maybe not some of our highest end multi-point lock products, but other products, you might overall have an add to that door of $30 to $50.
Yeah.
And when you think of how much it costs to go out and service the door, even if it's just driving to the site, but then you've got a couple hours trying to mess with it, and then if you even had to pull that door out, now you're starting to talk about hundreds of dollars in that repair, all of which can be avoided. So, so what we try to do, a big part of what we do is try to educate our customers, and they in turn their customers, as there is a difference, and if you understand what's going into that door unit, you're actually going to save money in the long term.
I love it. And you know, the other thing about that, Bruce, is for me as a builder, you know, I might put $100 or $150 door blank in, and so to add, let's say 30 or 50 bucks of that, yes, I've added maybe 20% to the cost of the door. What if I had a $500 door? Now I've added a $550 door, let's say, if we're using all those parts. Incrementally, it's not that much money, but you're getting a much, much better product. Bruce, I know we've got a couple other things to see while we're here. What's next on our job visit? Or on our Endura visit, I should say.
So one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is not just coming up with great ideas, but making sure that they work. So I'd like to turn you over to Tom Jaskowitz, our Vice President of Strategic Development, and he's going to show you through our test lab where we really just beat up on all these door units and our products in there, because we want to make sure that by the time they get into your house, okay, that they're going to function without any kind of issues.
Love it, Bruce. We'll see you over there.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
Welcome to the test lab, Matt.
Tom, what are we doing here, brother?
Hey, Matt, what we're doing today is we're evaluating our products for make sure they are ready for the field. Here, we have a big ram, 100 pounds, that gets pulled up and hits the door. This is the forced entry test. We're making sure that the 3-point lock that we have that locks the door in 3 places is going to survive no matter what you bring against it.
I think I've seen that on a couple of Cops episodes, haven't I?
That's what we're getting ready for.
And what is that lock that's on there that resisted that 100 pounds of force on there?
That's our panel lock. It's the newest multi-point lock that allows you to plug in anybody's hardware, 99% of the hardware out there, off the shelf, major brands, Kwikset, Schlage, everything that you know, Baldwin's and MTEX. You can plug in here. Your door still looks like a standard door, matches the rest of the house, but now you have multiple points of contact, and we're good to go, have good performance.
And so those 3 points of contact are helping to take that force of that ram and spread it out so that now it can resist that 100 pounds of flying going on there.
You got this. You got this. It's a lot of energy hitting the door. You're spreading it in multiple spots, and it just gets distributed throughout the entire door.
Speaking of force, you have another test for us, don't you?
That's right. Let's go see it.
A little bit violent too, don't you?
Let's go see it. We like to break stuff.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That is so awesome. It never fails to make me laugh to see a 2x4 cannon
Through a door, right?
What are we doing over here, Tom?
We are simulating debris flying at doors, windows, and the rest of the house during a hurricane. So that 2x4 just flew at 50 feet per second, or roughly 35 miles an hour, hitting that door. The next thing we would do is we would start cycling with pressure in and out to see if that door will survive the rest of the hurricane.
I'm shocked it didn't make it through that second skin. Is that a specific impact rated door?
No, it's not. It's just one of the, it's kind of a guess what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
Unless you go for a rated product, then, then you expect it to bounce off.
Yeah.
But between glass and different panels.
But that's your multi-point again, spreading that load out just like that 100-pound ram that you showed me earlier. This one's a more violent, quicker impact, but it's also spreading that load so that it's resisting that force coming through.
Absolutely. The other thing that you will find is very often through that type of an impact, you will damage the structure of the door.
Yeah.
So if you were then to put all that load from pressure on one spot, the whole door unit would come apart. By spreading it out, you're able to keep that door, the entire door system intact.
Man, this is cool stuff. What's next, Tom?
Right now, we're gonna see what happens after you actually, if it starts raining and blowing at the door.
All right, let's go. All right, we're gonna pause the North Carolina trip for a minute because now that you saw the testing, wasn't that 2x4 awesome? I wanted to flip back and actually show you this product in person at my house and talk about a couple features. So Travis, first of all, what's this called again?
This is panel lock.
Panel lock, all right, so walk me through it.
Yeah, so panel lock is our new multi-point lock, and what we tried to do with panel lock was make it really approachable for homeowners and builders and address the things that were troublesome for multi-point locks while keeping all the things that people really, really loved about multi-point locks.
Gotcha.
And so
multi-point lock, let me interrupt you for one second, meaning I've got a bottom throw right here that's gonna throw. I've got this center, basically deadbolt for lack of a better term, and then I've got this top one that's gonna throw, right?
Yep.
And what's cool about panel lock is that when this top and bottom one, the bottom one's the same, throws, it's kind of shark fin shaped. I don't know if you can tell on camera there, but it's thin right here and it thickens up right here. So that when this throws on the door, and oh, by the way, the door has a cool innovation too. The strikes for all three of these have a roller system on it. So remember how I said it went from thin to thick? As that strike hits that, or that multi-point hits that on this strike plate, it's actually pushing with the roller the door into the weather stripping. And this is also adjustable as well. So if I loosen these screws, I can move this in and out. And this is a big reason why I wanted to use this in my house. You know that I'm looking for a super airtight house, but I didn't want to spend the money on a passive house door. So this solves a big problem for me by really pushing against that weather stripping. Means that I'm going to get a super airtight door that's also very adjustable. All right, Travis, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, it's great. So that's you basically hit the high points on that basically that you're getting lots of points of contact along the edge of the door. You're getting tight against that weather strip. That's going to help. In your case, you were concerned about air because it doesn't rain in your garage, hopefully.
Right.
And but in other cases where this would be on an exterior wall, that's going to give you a lot of protection from rain and dust and things like that as well.
Yeah. Now, what else is interesting about this, guys, that I think is when I first saw this, I thought, no, wait a minute. There's only one strike right here. But normally when I see a door that has a normal handle and a deadbolt, I see two. This only has one.
Right.
What's the magic behind the scenes that makes that happen, Travis?
Yeah, so there's some stuff going on behind the scenes to where both your handle will activate the strike, and then it also functions as your deadbolt there. So there's something in the lock to design so it interacts with both pieces.
Got it.
And the other big piece that we took here, and that I wanted to make sure, one of the biggest hang-ups for making multi-points maybe not as approachable as they have been in the past is handle sets.
Oh, that's a huge pain point for me as a builder. It's hard for me to get the Endura, the Marvin, the Anderson handle set to match the rest of the handle sets in the house that the interior designer has specified. Sometimes the colors are even off. So how have you guys addressed that?
So with panel lock, we made it was really important for us to take standard hardware. And so your standard Schlage, Baldwin, Kwikset, or 99% of the brands you're able to use with that. And we
so this happens to be a Schlage that I just bought at the home center.
Right.
As a temporary lock during construction. But show us how that works. This is, by the way, the guts of the door. The panel lock, this actually getting routed into the door when this came from BFS.
Right.
So how does that work then? How do you switch that hardware?
So basically we don't run it with a series of adapters on both the lever and the thumb turn here. And so there's a different handle set for different manufacturers. And so as you get your door and you have that, you put in the corresponding adapter and it just pops in and pops out. So
if I wanted to switch from Schlage that I've got now and go, oh, actually my final hardware is going to be Baldwin,
pop that
I'd
out.
pop this out, put the Baldwin in, and I'm good to go.
Pop it back in, yeah.
That's really cool, Travis. Now that's not the only innovation this has. This panel lock has one more upgrade too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, but I'm going to need your phone.
Okay, here we go. So I have a app on here. Let me pull the app up for you. Called Entry Sync, which is the Endura app. And what's going on here? Yeah,
so basically we took panel lock and to make it entry sync, we basically electrified it, and so you won't need keys. It doesn't have a big clunky keypad on top, something like that. So you just come up to the door and you swipe your hand there. Give it a second, and you see that it unlocks.
Check that out. That's awesome. So Bluetooth on my phone is talking to Bluetooth in here. And by the way, if we took this screw out right here, you'd see that there's 4 AA's that are sunk in here. And then the Bluetooth on this app is talking to this Bluetooth. It's also smart enough to know that Travis is outside the door with the phone.
Right.
And then when he swipes his hand, it's both locking or unlocking the door. And what else is neat about this is there's enough force on this system, this motor, to actually still push the door into the weather stripping as if my hand did it. But what I like about this system is there's no chunky hardware. You know, most of the time when you have a smart lock, there's usually a keypad or maybe some bigger Bluetooth something on the outside. But where you put the 4 AA batteries, it's usually in this big box on the inside. In your case, BFS routed it out, and they routed a little deeper for this right here. But this, if I pulled this screw out, sorry, this screw, I'd have a 4 AA back that would come out once a year, every 2 years. You replace those batteries and you're good to go.
Exactly right.
Very cool system, Travis. All right, guys, so that's panel lock and entry sync, right?
Yep.
Let's go back and continue our tour over the factory.
Here what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at a test that simulates storm. with 8 inches of rainfall per hour and about 25 to 50 or 60 miles per hour wind. So we're sucking on the other side of the wall. We're creating suction to create pressure differential. A lot of big words. Long story short, about 50 miles an hour wind, 8 inches of rainfall per hour, and we're making sure that the door doesn't leak. This is why you see the cups on the door, because we know that locks will leak before the doors
will leak.
Before the doors do.
You even cock those 2 cups to the door. That's hilarious. And these are outswing doors, because we're on the outside of the house. Simulate, you know, we're out where the rainstorm is. Those are doors that could be leaky.
Correct. We focus really on our components. You talked about caulking the cups or other components. This is an outswing door. We are behind the rain. Normally we need to have an umbrella to stand here and reporting live, right? But that allows us to really focus down on the components, make sure that our components are keeping the water and air out of the house.
Yeah, one of the things I've really liked about you guys, and one of the reasons why I really wanted to use your products at my house, is because you're really pushing against that weather strip with a lot of your products, especially like Panalock that we saw earlier, that was able to resist the forces of the 2x4, the forces of that ram. We'll show these guys in a minute, but it also pushes the door towards the weather strip, which is making it more water and airtight as well, right?
Correct, most of the time, although sometimes you really want to control it and know exactly what you're doing. That's why, let's go to the next chamber.
All right, let's do it.
So, similar to what we just did on the other wall, correct? Where we are on the outside. This time, you and I are on the inside. We're safe and dry.
Okay.
Pressure and water are coming from the outside, and we are applying it from the other side of the door. But as I mentioned to you, sometimes it's important to understand how, not just if water leaks, but also how water leaks. Doing that on the wall where you're looking through that thick wall and thick glass is difficult. So what we do here is we can get really, really intimate with understanding how the water gets to the house. We can observe the margins. We can get into there. As a matter of fact, we get a probe camera.
You got a little camera in there, don't you? I can see the light coming through there.
We're feeding that. You can see here how I can observe the inside of the weather strip. I can see how water was to get through. Often we'll drill holes in the sill or in the door panel itself and feed that camera to find how exactly water is getting there. That's where we can plug in gaskets and sealants inside the right spots.
Wow, that's really cool. All right, good stuff, Tom. What's next?
Next, we're gonna see what happens to door products and materials when they get really hot or really cold.
All right, I like it. All right, Tom, am I seeing this right? This machine's at minus 35 Celsius?
Correct. If you look it up, it's negative 30 Fahrenheit.
Oh my God.
What we're making sure that happens here is that all of our products don't only survive heat, wet, rain, hurricanes, but also when you're living in the northern part of the country, that your winter doesn't really, get through to the inside of your home.
Ooh, I'm seeing condensation in this lock set. I can tell it's cold in there.
So, if you're ready for it, you can see quite a bit of frost buildup. It's an outswing door.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
Yeah, we're in Fargo now.
Fargo in the dead of winter.
So we actually have an electronic lock inside of that door, and we're evaluating all the electronic mechanisms and batteries surviving that type of weather.
And making sure everything's still working.
Correct. Once again, you saw the 3 points of contact. We're going after the 3-point lock, making sure that the contact against the weather strip is just right.
Man, that is cool. I like seeing that. Now, you mentioned heat as well.
Correct. We do the same box. We'll build up heat to 180 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
Very often what we'll do is we'll put this door in and run very quick cycles where within 2 hours you go from Fargo to Florida Keys and back.
Oh my gosh.
Or Phoenix for that matter.
That's crazy.
So storm door situations for door units, they're often they build up the heat like an oven.
Yeah.
We can go and heat it up, hold it there for a couple of hours, bring it back down and cycle it to make sure that we understand what will happen to the product and material over its life cycle.
Yeah, because that could be in Texas, right? If you got a front door facing west and there's a storm door in there, that sun's heating it up like a greenhouse in there.
Absolutely.
And it could easily get to 150 or more degrees.
And we know that even in Texas you can get some snow this year,
Oh
right?
yeah, we can, no doubt. Let's go see the next test.
All right. So Matt, now we're gonna go and see what we do and how we evaluate our metal parts. We test them for corrosion, either with salt spray or acid test. And you can see here We're simulating a little bit of a beach environment.
Oh man, look at that steam coming out of there. Holy cow.
It's high humidity, high salt concentration, and you can see a little bit of rust building up on some parts. We do it for quality checks on an ongoing basis for evaluating new suppliers,
Yep.
but also for comparing ourselves to our competition.
I know my coaster builder buddies are going to be appreciating the fact that you're checking to make sure these components aren't going to rust on them.
We do like to do our homework.
I like it. Let's keep going. All right, we've been talking, Tom, about panel lock and how it really resists kind of Mother Nature's worst. But this is a product that I installed at my house, which I really like, and this is pretty new from you guys. This is called Fusion Frame, right?
That's right.
Now, Tom, this wall you guys built to simulate some of the issues that builders have. Not every builder, not every house, but sometimes in the field things are not perfect. And if you look at this level, this wall itself is out of plumb.
Correct.
Now, no builder watching this has ever built a wall out of plumb, of course, but if in the future you do build a wall out of plumb, what do you do with that?
So interestingly enough, as you said, we put in turnbuckles to be able to twist it. That cross leg happens every once in a while.
Yep.
When you do that, when you bring a door unit to put against the wall, very often what happens is either it's your casing or your brick mold is used as a nailing flange.
Yep.
And at that point of time, all the sins of the wall are transferred over to the door.
Right.
To avoid that, just because the wall is unplumbed doesn't mean that the door has to be.
Yep.
If we install the door unit plumb and you actually have a little level built into this frame,
that's
isn't
cool.
that cool?
That is cool.
So we allow you, because most builders or installers that I found usually have just two hands instead of three. One to hold the door, the other one with a screw gun.
Level.
Third one, the level goes to the side. They're able to see it, find the plumb, put the door where it needs to be. But look what happens here in the bottom.
Okay, so the frame is out of plumb, the door is plumb. We want that door to be plumb so it'll close correctly.
Correct.
But now that the door is plumb, check this out. We've got this big, like, I don't know, 3/4 inch out of plumb. It's 3/4 inch out on a 6/8 door.
Absolutely.
And this fusion frame, just so you kind of understand what's going on here, guys, this plywood is part of the fusion frame. And then applied on top of that is this, what
Composite.
is this material? Composite material?
So we have composite laminated to PLV or LVL, and in the bottom you also have composite,
Okay, so
just like you would have in frame saver.
kind of like a frame saver on the bottom.
So no rod on the bottom.
And then this is a cap that's applied later after you've screwed through the jamb, so you can cover over your screws.
Correct.
And then the brick molding, which you're about to show me, if it was is this traditional
That's
brick
the traditional brick molding. I'm just using that to show you what would happen with your door if you were using traditional brick molding. You would have that gap.
Yeah, look at that gap. And your painter would basically have to caulk this gap. It would look terrible. You would see that gap as you're seeing that frame is out of plumb. The other thing that happens a lot, Tom, is this brick molding is pre-applied to the jamb and nailed all the way off. And then when the door gets set by an inexperienced door installer, the door itself is out of plumb because
Correct.
the wall's out of plumb. And that's almost worse in some respects.
Not only it's out of plumb, but I know, Matt, you pay a lot of attention to keeping your houses airtight.
Yeah.
It's really hard to apply a perfect seal behind that brick
Yeah,
mold
that's
when
right.
you install it.
Yep.
Here, you install the door, you can flash it out all around. We did it partially just for the sake of showing the product.
Yeah, but this peel and stick is being able to use right to your jamb, so it's weather and airtight before your brick mold even goes on.
Because at the end of the day, brick mold is just a piece of trim, right? It
Yep.
shouldn't be a structural part of the product. And then when we find it home, you're still out of plumb, the wall is still out of plumb, the door is still plumb, but look what happened, what we did here. The gap that you saw before is now covered up.
Yeah, so here's the secret sauce right here, guys. This brick molding has this L-shaped piece that fits into a slot on the jamb so that even if we're 3/4 out, it's going to cover that gap and you're not going to see that. There's no caulking necessary, and you're not going to be able to tell that it's out of plumb either because that gap right there is kind of taking up those spaces, and it's really hard to see once it's all white. Very cool, Tom. I like
Yep.
that a lot.
Very
The
good.
other thing that's cool about this is this brick molding. Let's see if we can we pull it apart here?
Yep.
If you look down the center, you actually get the fusion frame with this like this first, and you're going to apply this first and screw it on. And then your screws go through here. Now you also have some wood behind that brick molding, so if someday I want to add a storm door, a screen door, actually have some meat to screw into, and it's not just composite material.
Correct. And when you get to your house, you also see that the style doesn't match. The same way I removed the cover, you can actually apply a flat casing, 3.5
Yeah, that's what I did in
inch.
my house.
So you have the modularity built into the system as well.
And you guys also make this brick mold in a stainable version as well.
Correct. So the both frame and the brick mold and all the trim pieces and accessories come in both stainable and smooth.
That's awesome.
And it's smooth paintable, so you can match up your colors.
And then when you're all done, the other thing I like about this, which we mentioned earlier, is there's no nails, no screws showing. Everything's happened before that, behind these two caps. And then when we snap these on, we're good to go. Now, at my house, Tom, I've got white siding. I actually left the fusion frame color because it was close enough, and now I never have to paint. But this is ready to accept paint, right?
Correct.
So we could go ahead and paint that. And the other thing that we've showed here, or that you guys have shown, is that even if you painted a really dark color, let's say you painted it black, you're able to withstand the heat because you guys have really tested these products to show that even in extreme cold and extreme heat, they're not moving or warping on you like some other products are.
Absolutely. Obviously, every product and every material has its limits, but the natural behaviors and conditions that you'll find in the United States, we are prepared to survive without having in case of all composite frames, you would have a spaghetti of a frame. Well, Matt, it was great having you here today, showing you everything that we do. At the end of the day, we at Endura want to make sure that we're not only innovative, but we make sure that we get the homework done on all the products, make sure they're strong enough, that they survive 2x4s and hurricanes and blizzards, and that you and all the builders and homeowners for the years are going to be happy with the product that they get from us.
No doubt, man. I've been using Endura for like 20 years now. You guys make some bomber products. Let's head back to Texas. All right, Travis, Tom gave us a great overview of Fusion Frame, but I got to use it and see it firsthand here on my house. My carpenters at Endura installed this exterior door for me. Gosh, it's been a few months ago. Right. Let's show these guys a couple of other interesting things about Fusion Frame that I didn't get into with Tom.
Yeah, sure. Couple neat things that we did on this door. So basically, you have your flat trim that we talked about.
Yeah, so we took this off for clarity, but this is the flat trim that would go right here, or that was right here a minute ago. We took it off.
That's going to allow you to basically to trim out your door and float the brick mold like you saw. So if this door is out of plumb, you can install, the wall is out of plumb, you can install that door straight and plumb.
I love it. And
then you can let the brick mold do the work to deal with the out of plumb wall.
Yeah, so two other things I want to mention on that in particular is you're not using now your brick mold like a flange on a window, right? It's not your weatherproofing flange. So the brick mold and the door jamb can be independent. And this came longer, and it's probably going to be a little hard to see on camera, but there's some saw marks on here which get buried into this channel right here, this groove. But that allowed me to cut this distance perfectly to fit my situation, which of course I build houses that tend to be a little abnormal. So what I've got on the outside is I've got a rain screen detail, and this piece of plywood you're seeing that looks like, you know, just bare plywood, that's not my sheathing, that's my rain screen. Behind that is 2 inches of foam, and actually I take that back. No, I have some solid 2x2 pressure treat behind that, and then my plywood, which is my rain screen. So this is actually hollow here, and by having this Fusion Frame, it allowed me to move forward and back where I needed to. And then Travis, I wanted to ask you to explain for these guys why, even though this jamb is a composite jamb, is there wood on here?
Yeah, so this is going to allow you, that's going to allow you to put your fasteners through here and fasten on good. And if you ever wanted a storm door here, it's going to allow you to install a storm door. And the other thing is it's going to allow you to conceal all your fasteners. So you're never going to have a screw hole that you have to patch or putty or anything like that.
Yeah, so we could either nail this or we could screw it. And then lastly, this Fusion Frame piece is going to go on. And once that's on, I didn't snap it all the way in, but I didn't paint it. This is from the factory. This is the Endura color. And you notice, for me, it was close enough to my pre-painted Hardy color that I said, look, I'm not gonna paint it. I'm just gonna leave it alone. And this is their flat casing, but you offer more than just flat casing,
yep,
right?
There's traditional brick molds, J channels, narrower profiles, and so there's lots of different options.
And we'll show you in a minute, there's a stainable option.
Right.
But, you know, you've got your Bumblebee Transformer outfit on. I've got my RoboCop outfit on. It's because we wanted to show you something cool down here. So check this out,
Let's
guys.
take this out so it doesn't fall off.
Yep,
on you.
let's take that out so it doesn't hit me. I like that idea. So one of the reasons why I really like Endura is because you guys are super focused on builders and the issues that we have out in the field. And one of the issues that I've had over the years is that this finished door gets installed in the rough framing phase.
Right.
And I've got this beautiful sill, which is, you know, black and shiny and perfect, or silver or whatever color. This one came with a cap on it to cover the articulating sill. We're going to show you that in a second. But what happens often on the job site is these get scratched, dented, messed up. And oftentimes, you know, what happens is the mason takes a brick and accidentally drops it on the sill.
Right.
Or who knows how this happens, but we see this and all of a sudden your beautiful sill is looking pretty bad for the homeowner on day one. What is the solution from Endura on this?
So what we have here is we have our replaceable deck sill, and that's basically addresses construction damage, because you have trades going in and out all day long and everything like that.
Yep.
So when you have a door that goes in so early and then is a finished product all the way to the end of the house, it gives you the opportunity to finish it off at the end if there happens to be damage, or you know, you could do a construction cover through construction and then at final walkthrough, screen and service, or whatever, come out and replace this sill.
Okay, so this is the Endura RDS. Show me how to do it,
Yeah.
Travis.
So basically what you're going to do here is you take a stiff putty knife and you're breaking the substrate away from the substrate here. So
Okay.
the deck is being moved away, and it kind of takes some work on these.
Now while Travis is doing that, I'll tell you that the typical way I do this in the past is I'm going to be using a Sawzall to actually Sawzall that off. Now we broke that off, but you can pop it right out now. You notice that Travis had a pair of crescent pliers over there. He could have used some of those to grab it out, but he didn't need to if it was tight to get on. And now what you're looking at is the plastic sub-sill right here.
Yep.
And then show us how to put a new one on, Travis.
So basically what you're going to do is you're going to slide it on.
And you're going to get this from your local door supplier. You know, Builders First Source, BMC has these in stock. And you're going to slide it on.
There you go.
And then
Going to work from one end to the other here.
he's just got a piece of, you know, 1x2 left over on the job. And all he's doing is banging it into place. There you go. Couple of whacks and we're good to go.
There you go.
Now we got a brand new sill. Now the other thing that you could do is, oh shoot, I have a black sill, but my clients wanted silver in the end. I ordered the wrong one. You could switch that out. You've got how many different options? Do you know?
So
off the top of your head?
you've got satin nickel, you've got bronze, and you have mill finish.
Okay.
And so, you know, it's really typical for something maybe go black to chrome, something like that. So it's very easy to switch if that comes up.
Yeah, I like it. By the way, Travis and I are sweating pretty good out here. It's in Austin, Texas today. It's about 90 degrees and 90% humidity.
Yeah.
So if you see us sweating, it's because we're actually working and sweating today.
There we go.
We got one more whack over there, it looks like, to get that sill cap in place.
There we go.
There we go. Now show us that articulating cap. Now this cover, where'd that cover go? Grab that cover real quick. That's put on just for construction dunnage. And you can see it's gotten something slid over it too. But this is trash now.
Right.
And that kept our sill in perfect shape. And show me that sill.
Yeah, so what's great about Z articulating cap, or ZAC, is it's a self-adjusting door sill, and so basically it will adjust underneath the door like you saw when you were back in North Carolina. But what's really neat about that is if I'm all the way down over here, you can see I'm still up over here, and so it's going to
it's at a level at the
out
bottom.
of level. If it starts to settle weird, you know, something like that, it's going to accommodate a lot of different things with that door, and always give you a tight seal across the bottom of that door.
Very cool, Travis. Let's run over to the desktop. I'm going to show you a couple more quick things, and then we're going to switch to Q&A in a minute. I'm going to take my knee pads off here. If you haven't posted a question and you have one, Travis and I are going to take at least 10-15 minutes and go through your questions. So go over to the Q&A tab for that, and we will answer those in just a second. Okay, Travis, let's go show these guys a couple things over here. All right, so let's first run through Fusion Frame real quick. This is kind of the tabletop version of the IBS demo, but walk me through what you got here.
Yeah, so we talked about that before, and you saw Fusion Frame on your own house, but what I wanted to highlight here is the stainable version. So we have a embossed version. So this is going to allow you when you have a door that you're doing kind of a stain grade door.
Yeah, like a Therma-Tru stainable door,
exactly.
let's say.
Yep, you could match that to that, and it's very neutral grain pattern, so it could be used with lots of different panels, lots of different grains, things like that.
I like that. And this we showed you on the outside, but you can see there's wood in there on that Fusion Frame. So that's like if you were mounting a storm door or something in there. And the other thing I wanted to point out, just in case you didn't see it earlier, this Fusion Frame is an LVL material. But what's cool about that LVL material is just like their frame savers, which this is the jam I used for years, the frame saver jam, the bottom couple inches here is a composite material. You know, it kind of looks like Trex decking. I don't know what the exact product is, but it's plastic wood composite, which means this will never rot. And that's always where I see rot when I do remodels, is down in this bottom 2 or 3 inches. The Fusion Frame has the same thing. You've got some composite down here, so when that water splashes on here, it's not gonna rot. And then it's finger jointed to some LVL, which is really strong and straight.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole thing with Fusion Frame is we wanted a door that could be strong like wood, install exactly like wood, but then give you all the benefits of having a non-rot, maintenance-free frame.
All right, Travis, so this is your RDS, the replaceable deck sill. What's this? Talk to me about these guys.
So this is what I was talking about before. This is a dunnage cover on here, and so this is going to allow you to have basically a plastic cover all the way through construction.
Yep.
And then at final close, you'd go take this out, take the plastic pieces off, and put on your final pieces. Yep.
Really smart. I like that. And of course, Endura makes all kinds of products for doors that have side lights, for all the other options. And with that being said, let's transfer over to Q&A. And it's something that I did want to mention, Travis. I don't think I said it earlier. Did I miss anything on the tabletop, by the way?
No, I don't think so.
Any of these products that we talked about today, Endura doesn't sell direct to you. They're selling them to Builders First Source and BMC and whatever millwork shop you're buying from. So instead of just saying, hey, I want a a 2868 door here, Mr. Millwork Supplier, with a mill finish sill, you're gonna say, hey, I want that same door, flush or insulated or with glass, but here's the Endura products I'd like to have on that door. And speaking of which, before we run into Q&A, we mentioned at the top of the program that a lot of these products are not super expensive. Can you run us through the lineup and talk about where builders like me might see that cost?
Yeah, on the sill options, it might be an additional $10 to $30 depending on which options you choose.
Gotcha.
And your frame options might be another $30, $40 on there for Fusion Frame, depending on what you're upgrading from.
Okay.
And then on the locks.
Yeah, we forgot to mention panel lock. What can we expect on panel lock pricing?
I think to you it would be anywhere from $150 to $250 on a door, depending on the door.
And then if we wanted to upgrade to the electronic version, what do you think we'd be looking at?
I'm not exactly sure if pricing is finalized on that.
Okay, gotcha. But it's in the hundreds, right? It's not thousands.
Right.
So, typically, I remember when I switched to Endura products almost 20 years ago, when I was buying from BMC out in Portland, Oregon. At the time, I was working for a production builder, and so every penny counted for us. But what we saw was not having the callbacks on these frame saver jams was worth, I can't remember what it was at the time, the $20 that it cost more to get a frame saver jam than a standard pine jam, which I knew was going to have rot issues in 5 to 10 years.
Right.
So it's not a lot of money for your products. That's one of the things I really like about what you guys do. Yeah. But you're also selling tons of them all over the country, but you have to ask for it. If you don't ask for it, and I've made this mistake before, I've ordered doors and not specifically said what kind of sill, what kind of jam, what type of articulating, the Z articulating cap. If you don't ask for them, you're not going to get them because your supply house thinks, oh gosh, I don't want to increase this by $10 without checking. And a lot of times they don't check, so they just don't do it. They go back to the default on whatever the standard is that's on the shelf that's the least cost. So you need to ask for these Endura products when you're specifying your doors. Did I miss anything on that?
No, it's great.
Let's switch over to Q&A. We got a couple questions on here. First off, talk to me about the panel lock system, the electronic version. What if I wanted to, let's say, open the door when I wasn't there? You know, I've got a babysitter that's coming over and opening the house to let the dog out. What could I do with that system with you guys?
Yeah, so basically what we have for that is we connect it to what we call Entry Sync Connect. And so it's a power supply and an Ethernet, and this basically gives you remote access to unlock your doors from anywhere. So as long as you have internet access, you can unlock your doors from anywhere.
Gotcha. Dave Sorrento, hopefully I didn't butcher your name, Dave, says, what are the considerations that should be made as a woodworker specializing in insulated and air-sealed doors when manufacturing? Let me answer this one. These products that you're seeing that we're talking about today, panel lock, all these other products, they're really intended for you as a builder to order from your millwork shop, not necessarily from your woodworker or cabinet maker. So most of the time when Endura is selling these products, they're selling into the big millwork shops. Not to say that couldn't sell to a smaller woodworking shop as well, but this video, this seminar is really intended for builders like me that have 5-10 houses a year that I'm buying from a particular millwork supplier. And one of the things that I've done is with my millwork supplier, I buy from BMC, which is now called Builders First Source here in Austin. I've already worked out with my BMC sales rep what are the products I want on my exterior doors from Endura. So now I don't even have to talk about it anymore. Now I basically say, look, I'm looking for this Simpson door number, whatever. And then he knows that I'm using this type of frame saver jam, this type of Z articulating cap, all those things. All I need to tell him is my color of my sill. Other than that, I'm good to go. Anything you want to comment on that I missed?
No, I think the main thing when you're talking about performance is to get it right on paper first. So have a specification that you're trying to match to. So it's always easier to get that right on paper before you're at the job site trying to make a door sill right.
Yeah, that's right. And I would tell you, talk to your local millwork rep about those Endura products that they've got typically in stock at the millwork shop and what options there are for your particular doors. Because like I said, even if you've got entry front doors that have side lights, you've got double doors, you've got all kinds of options, there probably is an Endura product for that. And speaking of which, Travis, what's the website and how can people get more info from Endura?
Yeah, so the easiest way is go to enduraproducts.com. That'll have a catalog of all of our products that we've talked about today. And you can also go to panellock.com if you want specifically on panel lock.
Awesome. Bradley Peterson says, is there anybody at Endura that we could talk to if they've got questions rather than just talking to their millwork supplier who maybe isn't as familiar? Is that an option for people as well?
Yeah, we have a sales team all around the country, and we have people that can help people guide through that stuff. So we'd be happy to get in touch and figure it out. But there's also a dealer contact us on enduraproducts.com.
Oh, okay, great.
With it.
Great. So that's the best way to do it. There you go, Bradley. That's your answer to your question. Guys, I think we've run out of questions. If you have one last question, throw that on the Q&A tab. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up here. I don't know if you can tell, but Travis and I are both sweating our tail off. It is really hot today here in Austin, Texas. Travis, I really appreciate you traveling to come join us for this. Guys, if you're not currently a subscriber for the Build Show on YouTube, hit that subscribe button if you're watching this there. If you're on Build Show Network, we have a weekly newsletter that goes out every single Friday. Somewhere below me is probably a link for this if you're watching this. That's been pre-recorded. Sign up for our weekly newsletter. That's how you can find out about future Build Show lives. And I want to say a big thanks to all my friends at Endura. I mentioned in the video, I've known Bruce for 15 years. I've known Travis for at least 15 years, maybe longer. I started using your products even before that. But these guys are out in the field. This is a family-owned company that really understands the needs of builders and has some really unique solutions that I'm not seeing any other competitors with in the marketplace. So, Travis, really appreciate your friendship and your partnership. Guys, hit that subscribe button below. We've got new content every Tuesday and every Friday. Follow me on Twitter or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.